Hi class, this is Marshall Sponder, your lecturer for Web Analytics and 9738 and 4123, and this is Mobile Social Analytics. This is the 9th lecture. We're getting close today. And actually you can see I took some of these slides from the slides we created for the book. In this case I really should get rid of these little bottom thing here, but I left it in. I just wanted to talk a little bit about mobile analytics in this lecture because so much traffic is happening on mobile websites that we're on our mobile devices all the time. So, and there's we're going to go very high level here. We're not going to get deeply into mobile. We just want to talk a little bit about it and say that, mobile data is constantly being generated and that we have it's becoming basically we're on our phones all the time. We're hardly ever using it. We're not using our laptops or desktops as much as we used to. And we can get this data anywhere, and we're looking at it all the time. So we're using our devices. And our devices are becoming very powerful and do all kinds of things. And they're constantly broadcasting our location too, which has its pluses and minuses. I don't go that deeply into that in this course, but that's a fascinating study in and of itself. And I think as of last June 2016, there were over a year ago, there were about 4.2 million apps available. It's probably way more than that now for download in Apple Store and Google Play. And so we need analytics on those, what that is, and it's different analytics than we use for websites. So, because actually the technology of mobile devices is different than websites. Like even what's activity and what's a visitor is different. And, when Web Analytics was created, it wasn't really created for mobile sites. I'm not even sure that using Web Analytics to even the way of representing information that Web Analytics does is really always the best way for a mobile site. But such be it that that's kind of what we've been using. We've been trying to get all these different new forms of traffic to fit in with the Web Analytics methodology. It may not always work so well. And when Web Analytics was originally created in the mid-1990s, these mobile devices hardly existed. So they didn't really, there wasn't really any good way of reporting on them. And we still report them, we still report on them in a way, but it's not necessarily always makes sense what we're looking at. Now, we want to make our websites friendly to mobile search because now Google makes it a ranking factor since 2015. At least for mobile search, it looks at whether the sites that are being indexed for mobile search are mobile enabled, and will rank those higher because it wants visitors to have a good user experience of the web. But on the other hand, there's an implication that might also count for desktop ranking as well, that mobile sites might get an edge up. I don't know if there's any proof of that, but certainly that might be the case. So you might be leaving money on the table if you're not making sure that your website is mobile, looks good as a mobile website. Also, you have two different types of mobile analytics that we're going to look at here: mobile web analytics and apps analytics. Now, how do we tell the difference? Mobile web analytics focuses on what mobile website visitors do on your mobile adapted website or app. So you can make a website, an HTML website that looks decent on a mobile device, and that would be mobile analytics, mobile enabled website, and then you have apps that you create specifically for the mobile devices that they're different. The apps analytics deals with understanding the mobile users on the device and what they're doing, in the app on that device. And obviously you may need to have that kind of reporting. They may need to look very granular at what they're doing and capture that. So the purpose of this apps analytics is, where they seem similar to web analytics, except that we're talking, instead of talking about a page or website, we're talking about an app. So we're not talking about a page anymore. We're talking about an app, and that might get some used to, But if we substitute the rest of it out, and then, in my book, I have a co-author, Gohar Khan, and originally he wrote some of this chapter, or most of this chapter, and, like he felt that apps could be divided in two ways by, those who are trying to develop and the type of app that you actually have, So mobile apps, web-based apps, and hybrid apps, it's a classification. Mobile apps are just your website that looks good on a mobile phone, so it adapts. Web-based, I should say, but that's web-based app. Native mobile apps are those that were designed to work well on a mobile device, so they actually are built just to run on that mobile device. And hybrid is one that's a little bit of both. Try to remember what the hybrid definition is. But the native apps, the nice thing about them is you can download them easily. They're more easy to make money off of them, I guess, and they're fast and they adjust well on their native platforms, but they're expensive to develop. They're often device specific, and they can therefore only certain mobile devices can get to those particular apps. And usually from the iPhone or Android store, you have to code them, and they execute, and you can code them in Objective-C or COCO programming. So there's a couple other considerations here. I'll just let you read them. And so these are types of apps. So web-based apps, but they look like native apps, but in reality their websites optimized for mobile access. So we covered that already, and they don't cost as much, but they might be slower and less flexible. So basically, when you create the regular website, you can create the mobile web-based app well. And then detect the browser type and serve them which one, make them see which one you want them to see. You have apps that will do both. And, I won't really say, which one is better. And, just basically, you have ones that exist both ways. I'm just, I personally don't get into this designation that much. But you can make them do a lot of different things. So apps can be categorized by their purpose. I won't even go into these purposes. And but one thing is true is they usually are recording. They're aware of their location. They can be personalized. They're not often looking at long-term use, and they're easy to use because they're a limited selection feature set. And you can develop apps, pretty much on your own, just by programming them yourself. You can outsource it, but that can be expensive. Or you can go open source and try to put something together. Google Mobile Analytics is good for analyzing this stuff. There's a couple of platforms like Countly, Mixpanel, Flurry. Mixpanel seems to be more granular for what people are actually doing on each page. To be honest with you, I'm not sure there's that much difference between these platforms. There might be some reason why one is used more than the other, but I don't think there's a big problem. And then we have a case study. This actually corresponds to one of our chapters of the book, but not one that I gave you in the course pack. Airbnb. They, a lot of people are familiar with them, and they've got people who rent out part of their houses or part of a couch. They're all over the world, so you could stay cheap at a place. They needed an analytics solution to help them optimize your host properties as they go through the rental spaces, and they were looking more at the app. They built their web analytics tool from scratch, and then they measured the activity on each page of the app by Mixpanel. And it didn't take them that long to do that. And then they were able to get a 400% increase in their conversions based on what the analytics told them, which was, I guess, the perfect case. Now, we have access to a bunch of tools to assess your own needs, stakeholders' needs. These come from a company called Demand Metric, and I gave you one called the Mobile Content Type Tool, the Mobile Application Type Assessment Tool. And we actually are getting permission for the book and for the classes, so I will say that that's an update to what was in the slide. This is what the assessment looks like, and by answering the questions, the assessment will tell you whether you should have a web or a mobile app. Very simple. And then it also charts out there's another one called the Mobile Marketing Maturity Assessment that shows us the strengths and weaknesses in 5 dimensions of a company when they're in their marketing maturity. We'll go over this, but say that there's some information on it, some videos on Demand Metric's site that explain how to do this. And this is the 9th presentation. So we really did not go deep into mobile, but I did want you to be familiar with it. Cheers.